I'm Joshua, the Tribune, and I'm here to talk to you about God's strategy of opposite. Now, I grew up in the church, and I grew up around a good amount of pastors, and though they helped me so much, they did not help me with this principle because I had no idea that this happens and that this is how God's character is. You can read it in the Bible that he does this, but people don't take it seriously in our time for some reason. But people think that God will give you what you think you want. That is ridiculous because that's saying that you know what you want and you're always right, and that he is Santa Claus and he's not. Those things are just not true. What it is he assesses what is best for you and what he knows your deepest desires are and will be. He looks into the future and gives you what you are going to need and want most of all later that you don't even know about. So, if you go on this journey with God and you think that, like I did, like I can just, if I want it and it's good, this is good. If I want something good and it looks wonderful, and I have these tastes, it could be anything. There can be so many things that you have tastes for that are good and not even bad, and you think that then God's going to give me this. And you're praying about it and you feel good about it. No, that is very dangerous to start thinking like that, because how God thinks is this: I am going to assess what's best for you and give that to you. And many times it's going to be opposite of what you think. In the moment, it's devastating. It could be, if you don't understand this principle, it's devastating. And even with understanding the principle, it is very difficult. And it takes faith and it takes relationship. And that's the only way to move past the pain of these kind of situations and the discouragement, really, is knowing God and being his friend. But you have to know that he will warn you of these things. That's another thing. He doesn't always blindside you. He will warn you. He'll send somebody and say, hey, listen, I think maybe this might be good for you. And you're like, no, 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 absolutely, no, absolutely not. No, no, thank you. And then come to find out that was God. And he actually ordered that. And he let you go all these different directions that you thought were right, and he shut doors to get you back to what you really needed, which you were going to thank him for when that time comes and it comes to fulfillment. This is something that I had no idea about. I was going through things and he was shutting so many doors that were good doors, and I couldn't believe it. On top of that, I had confirmations on these doors, and I couldn't figure out why. Lord God, why do I have confirmations on these things? You're telling me that these things are for me, but you're shutting doors on them. It makes no sense. And I was very, very irritated. I mean, that's not even the word. Irritation isn't even the strongest word I can use. Only he knows the word. But after that, I realized, as time went on, that he's actually using those things that I wanted that weren't really his timing for them, for his time for me to have them. Some of the things he's going to still do, but some of them, that's not time. But he used those things to actually guide me to the place I needed to get to. And I'm thankful for those things now. I'm thankful I didn't have those things that I thought I wanted. And I think, wow, it's like a little baby who actually wants something that they don't want. You know how a baby sees like a hot chili pepper and then just some Carolina Reaper and grabbing for it and stuff and just let me have it, and the mouth's open and they start crying. No, and listen, if I give you this Carolina Reaper, I don't even know if I'm going to take you to the hospital. But later on, when you're older, you can try it. This is how God is. And even things that we think are good for us. And that's the biggest, those are the biggest ones. We understand God closing the door on things that aren't good for us. But there's certain things when we come to a place and everybody even agrees with us. And that's a side note. It doesn't matter who agrees with you and what's good for you. That makes no difference. God is the only person who really knows what should be yours and what's good for you. And that comes through his purpose. It comes with what his agenda is, and that is what will make everybody happiest, including those people who agree with you that what you should have is the best thing that you should have. Those people actually be very discouraged if you had that. They don't even realize that. That's why you have to go to God. You have to go to God with these things. But God does do opposite. It's a strategy of his. He will give you what you think you don't want or need and show you that you need it and that you wanted it. That's what he'll show you. Now, the reason why this is very important to talk about and that you need this and to understand this and to go through this is because this is how relationships build. This is how you start trusting God. This is how when he starts telling you a direction that you don't really see with your eyes and he's saying, I need you to do this. You can trust that he's telling you the truth based off of your past experiences of him telling you to do or having you do opposite of something you thought was right. Sometimes he'll even allow you to have something that you think is right, knowing it's wrong, to show you that it was wrong so that you can get back on track. And then from there on, you'll trust him more. And there's prototypes to this. As time goes on, the things get more important to hear God and actually trust him. So he will test you with this and train you with this with smaller things. And that's the time when you really need to understand that you're safe. You need to understand that God has you covered. This is a controlled environment. So train with him and understand this and be with him. But I've come to learn that I really don't know what I want necessarily, because there's something very, very, very wonderful about God that I have actually seen myself, and it will always stay with me. God, when we say we want something, we say that we have this desire, or we say that we want to go in this direction. A lot of the times we don't know. I'd say most of the times, not even a lot of the times, we really don't know what the deepest root of that desire is. We really don't know, because we are not that in touch with ourselves. Only God knows the deepest root of why we think we need or want something or want to go in a certain direction. So what he does is he will use what we think we know to get us to the deepest root so that we're completely fulfilled. Now, you could think that, oh, well, I went in this direction, I'm fulfilled. But how do you know that that it's impossible for you to be way more deeply fulfilled than you could ever imagine? And everything could fit in exactly how it's in your deepest heart. And that's why it's important not to settle. That's why it's important to keep going. If God says move on, you got to move on. If God says to stop, you got to stop. He says go, you got to go. So, but he knows the deepest desires in your heart, and that's what he's trying to get to you. He's trying to get the deepest desire that you don't even know about. Now, many people are probably wondering, why doesn't he just tell us what the deepest desire is so that we could just go for that? Because that would be, you wouldn't have to have faith. You wouldn't get to know him. You wouldn't get to understand that he actually has your back. You wouldn't get to trust him. That's part of the process, is learning how to trust God, learning how to go in a direction and not know the details and say, I know God sent me here. I don't know the details, but I know from my experience that he will make sure that the deepest desire is met when all is said and done. And that's what's so important about this topic. I don't want you guys to go on this journey that we're going on and think that he's Santa Claus. And I hear pastors saying that he's not Santa Claus, but in the same breath, they'll tell you that you should be looking for things that you want. So it's very confusing. God is actually not Santa Claus. God gives you opposite of what you want most of the time, and knowing that it will benefit you way more, and you'll be thanking him and say, thank God that you gave me opposite. Thank God for it. It would be like Santa Claus. It's like you wrote to Santa Claus, and he said, oh, I like a bicycle. He says, no, you're not going to have a bicycle. That's not what we're doing. I understand that deep desire that you had. You thought you wanted a bicycle because of your current situation that you're in, that you just think, this would be a perfect time for a bicycle, not knowing you're not even going to be in that situation in 10 years. So really, you need a motorcycle. In fact, you need your real desire is you're going to actually manufacture motorcycles. That's that desire that you're going to be totally fulfilled is not even about riding motorcycles. It's about building motorcycles. It's about owning a company that has the best motorcycles in the world. But it started with a bicycle. It started with two wheels. This is how God is. And you could, if you get the bicycle, you could be kind of happy with it. You could have a great time. You can go on some trails. You can just, have some fun. Ride with friends, ride with your partner, whatever it is. But you'll never, if you stay there, you'll never know that he had something way better for you. And he'll throw a bicycle in the mix already. You'll have a bicycle and you'll have a motorcycle and you'll be the manufacturer of motorcycles. So this is how God is, and he's amazing. Now, another thing that you need to know God does, speaking of opposite, is he will actually give you the bicycle because you're so stubborn. And that I know I want I want a bicycle. I need a bicycle. And the bicycle is given to you. And you get so infatuated with this bicycle that you just can't move on. Now, you know what he has to do. He has to let the bicycle break. And now we're like, oh God, how dare you? I can't believe it. And we're praying over the bicycle. We're praying over it, laying hands on it, please. And he's like, no, I actually broke that. I'm not going to fix it because I want to move you on to the next step, but you didn't want to move. And I know this is going to benefit you. You're going to love it. You're going to cherish this next step because it's going to lead you to purpose and it's going to lead you to knowing God. And this is how these things work. So I want you guys to expect some opposite things to happen. I want you to remember my voice. I want you to hear my voice in your ear when you're going on this journey, and he does opposite. And I'm sure many people watching can actually look back in their life and see opposite, even if it's not even resolved yet. You need to know that this should free you. Let it go. Stop being concerned about what didn't happen or did happen. It makes no difference. What matters is that you have the current agenda of the Father. That's the only thing that matters. And he wants you to have it so that he can give you not only better, but relationship with him, which is the best thing possible, because anything you face, you have a friend. You have the ultimate friend. You have somebody who loves you more than anybody, somebody who will counsel you. This is very important. So on this channel, we're gonna touch a lot on God doing opposite in different ways, because it is such a part of his character that I kept thinking that he was done doing opposite with me, but he kept doing opposite. It was really crazy. It took me years to understand this. But people don't talk about this because they don't want to discourage people. They're afraid. They're afraid of telling people this because they think people will be upset. But it makes people more upset and devastated when we don't know this about God. I can't even tell you how many times I scoured messages of people trying to find somebody who, every God always did opposite. Okay, it's something that I was very, very hurt about, that I didn't need to. I should have been happy, and I wasted years of discouragement and frustration. So I don't want you guys to do that. I want you guys to know that he's like this, and through knowing that, you'll be freed. Hail Jehovah.